Hey guys, how's everybody doing? With the release of Fast and Furious 10 coming out in the next week or so, I've decided to go ahead and review the entire Fast and Furious movies leading up to that new installment. And I'm gonna be completely honest, besides for the first two and the sixth one, basically all of these are first time watches for me because I never got around to watch them. I really don't know why. Maybe because I thought just the premise of people just racing and all that never really needed sequels. But hey, I'm about to find out in the next 10 days or so. I do want to say I do not know if I'm going to be reviewing Hobbs and Shaw because that is a kind of a spin-off Fast and Furious movie and it's like about two characters that we get in this series. I don't know if I'm gonna review that movie. I might. We'll just see what time does with me. But I want to. I will say that will also be a first time watch for me. But I want to buy it on Amazon or anything, but I can't find it because almost every fucking website I go to, they want $40 for it. I'm not joking. How fucking rare is that movie? Starting off with my positives on the Fast and Furious, keyword the, as I think the soundtrack in this movie is really good. I really like the soundtrack, the music in it kind of gets you all hyped up. It's kind of like the Rocky theme. When you hear that Rocky theme, it kind of want to makes you go run around the block. But when you hear this soundtrack, it makes you want to get in your car and just go as fast as you can on a 30-mile-per-hour zone. I saw a thing where the insurance companies have been saying to watch all of the Fast and Furious movies within the next 24 hours and jog down all the things that they do illegally in the series. Going 160 miles per hour in a 30 miles per hour zone, kind of it. My he, the my who, the my ha, the my. Racing, the race scenes in this movie are awesome. There are a lot of it's just awesome to watch. Like the first one that we get with Dominic and Brian when they're both betting against each other. When they're starting, they start going like really fast, and they have like air containers, like oxygen containers in their cars, and they start pressing like buttons on their wheel to make them go like. Meh. I really like that. It's a lot of fun, even with the final race in this movie, but just between Dominic and Brian. With the first race, there was four people, but in the final one, after one of Dominic's friends die, which I will not mention, is where he's kind of like sad that he's dead, but they finally get the people that killed him. They kind of like mess him up and accidentally kill him. And there's a part where he's at a red light, and we find out Brian is a cop, and Brian is trying to trying to go down for Dominic kind of to arrest him or talk to him or something. I don't know what they were trying to do, but they were at a red light and he's like, once it turns green, I'm going. And they both just start going and going and going and they're going like really, really fast. And there's a part where the train is coming, which is very suspenseful. Like, oh God, are they going to make it? Like, when you watch this for the first time, like, you honestly don't know if they're going to make it. Like, do they make it or do they not make it and just get seriously hurt? We don't know. One of them does, I will not mention. All the race scenes in this movie are just awesome. There's even like this racing kind of out in the desert somewhere, kind of in the middle of nowhere, you can say, where they're all betting, like where they're just saying like how they only go like maybe 10 miles to see who could win. It's a lot. It's a lot of fun. If you want to watch just a movie about racing, this one is for you. Even though this movie also has to do about stealing shit. Not joking. This could also go with the race scenes. Is that the action in this movie is pretty good. This kind of goes with the racing scenes because the race scenes are kind of like action paced a lot. I like them. They're like the action scenes are really good. I think the standout was when they were trying to steal something from a semi on the highway after one of their friends kind of drives off, which is the one guy that dies. I will say that. And where the guy, Vince, I believe his name is, yeah, Vince, where they shoot grappling hooks through the window so they can try and climb on, but the guy has a shotgun, starts shooting at him, and they're trying to get down, but the guy's arm gets caught around the string and all that, and he's trying to get it off, and they're all trying to help him, like Dominic is trying to like reach out his arms, like grab my hand, but the guy keeps shooting at him, and then the Dominic's girlfriend, she comes out and is just like, hey, I'm gonna distract him, and go well. Then he gets shot. Why are you lingering? Cuddle. So like the scenes where Brian and Vince. I almost said Dominic. That's kind of like a running thing in this movie. Where Brian and Vince are fighting over like a girl, Mia, which is Dominic's not girlfriend, sister. God, I'm gonna be saying Dominic a lot through this series. Let's actually play a game. Every time I say Dominic, take a shot. And if you miss that, well, if you rewatch this, then you're gonna start doing that, and then you're gonna end up in the hospital. Sorry. I like the bickering between Brian and Vince where they're fighting over Dominic's sister. I almost said girlfriend again. Sister Mia, where she's dating Vince, and Brian goes to the place where she works, where it's kind of like a restaurant in a way, and he eats the like the tuna sandwiches. I know, sounds gross. I don't like tuna. And where the second we meet Brian, you can tell that he likes this girl. Where you're just like, oh, this might be like a weird thing where he tries to, or excuse me, trying to impress this girl, and then they end up being together in the end, which kind of ends up happening. But it kind of does like a weird thing where like the guy, like this guy shows up and all that, which a lot of movies seem to do. New ideas, people. Where the guy shows up and he's just like, "Hey, you need to stop coming here." He's like, "Hey, I just like tuna." Bullshit. No one likes tuna. Well, I do. And they start fighting, and then Mia's just like kind of getting sick of Vince, where how much of an asshole he is, and he's like really fucking rude to her too in the movie, which is kind of fucked up. And then I think this part's really funny in the movie where Mia is talking to Vince, and it's some kind of place that he wanted to take her on a date, some kind of restaurant. I don't know what restaurant it was. And he's just like, "Hey, what is that place?" And he says the name. She's like, "Well, then you can take me." She looks at Brian's like, "Oh, you can take me then." And basically just drops him there, just breaks up with him there and then, like without just saying like, "Hey, fuck you" and all that. He's just like, "You can take me to this place," and not him. I like that, and that actually got like a real laugh at me. Like the sec she said that, I was like, like I remember the first time I watched this movie, which was 2 years ago. Yeah, I got introduced to the series very late. I think when I first watched that, I started bursting out laughing, and my dad was like sitting there just looking at me like, "Why are you laughing?" Like he was just like staring at me, like I was laughing my fucking ass off after that happened. Then he told me to shut the fuck up. Basically, he was just like, "Shut up! I'm trying to watch the movie." Father is a very loving and caring man. Please do not think that he's an absolute asshole. Final positive is that I like the cast in this movie. This cast is very good. They all play their parts well. The main standouts are obviously Vin Diesel and Paul Walker, and this was when Vin Diesel was in his golden days and wasn't a very cocky person before he was like this big name in Hollywood. Like now he's like a big name in Hollywood, but back then he was just some guy they found on the street just playing in certain movies and somehow got the role, right? I think Vin Diesel is his best in this movie, but that could change because this was a long, long series. That could change, but I think his acting and his like just him in general in this movie was really good. Because nowadays he's kind of like a asshole from what I'm hearing. Because back when Fast and Furious 10 was actually filming last year, the director almost left, or maybe he did leave. I don't know. Maybe they got a different guy. The guy rather almost left or he did leave, I don't know. And he said he almost did because Vin Diesel kept forgetting his lines and basically acting like he was the big shot there. And I was like, dude, what the fuck? Even recently, after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 came out, uh, there's a thing on Twitter or Facebook, I don't know what it was on, saying that Vin Diesel was almost fired from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 as Groot because he kept forgetting his lines. Now, I have been seeing people also saying that I was like, how the fuck do you forget one line? It's I am Groot. That's not necessarily the case. Like, if you actually watch behind the scenes, he actually says what Groot is trying to say, and then he just says I am Groot a few times just so they can alter that. Which people who are yelling is like, it's just one fucking line. How do you forget that? Maybe you should watch behind the scenes, bitches. But I'm getting off track here. Vin Diesel in this movie is really good, especially Paul Walker. Rest in peace. He is really good in this movie. Like he plays like this guy where we just believe that he's kind of just one guy just looking for money. He works for Dominic at this like car repairing place, and then it turns out later in the movie he's a cop. Yeah, I already said that, didn't I? It turns out he's a cop, He is trying to bust out. He's trying to bust like the villains of this movie. I like that. I like these characters. I love this. I don't. I actually I'll talk about the characters. I think this cast is great. Every single cast member plays their part basically to perfection. I wouldn't really make any changes to this movie with the cast because they could have chosen worse. Just saying. Now to my mixed aspects. Like I said with the characters, my mixed aspects is the characters. I think the standouts are Dominic, Brian, Mia, and Vince. Vince is an asshole, but he's a standout. But I feel that these characters, somewhat, is most of these characters aren't very notable or memorable in any way, really. Look, these characters are fine. I'm sure when I watch the rest of these movies, I will change my mind on these characters. I'll grow to love these characters more, but as of right now, for the first movie, you could fix the characters just a little bit more. Look, like I said, this is when this movie was basically nothing back then. This is when it had like a short budget, short script, this simple plot. They didn't really care about characters. They just mostly focused on racing, money, bitches, and stealing. That order. And I feel that, like I said, if I watch the series more, I'll get to like these characters more. But as of right now, at the first movie, characters aren't great, but there are some memorable ones. Well, guys, I think this is a damn good movie. This should have been just one of those simple movies where it was just a one and done. But this movie grew to be a big success, and then they made another one, and it is one of the most celebrated, one of the most popular movie franchises out there. But for the first movie, I would say that you would go out and add it to your collection. What do you guys think of the Fast and Furious? Do you like this movie? Do you hate this movie? Do you love this movie? Let me know in the comments below and let me know what you think of this franchise and let me know what I have ahead. Because I feel this is going to be a weird journey. But please let me know in the comments what you thought about this video. And if you like this video, like it. If you loved it, subscribe and hit the bell notification so you will get notified for my latest videos. But until my next video, take care.